May 7th. Welcome to VO Journey Academy Live. My name is Anthony.
I'm Gabby.
This is Gabby. All right, we were talking at the beginning about our mug presentations. Present your mug.
Can you read
Caffeine
mine or
now.
is it completely backwards?
Talk later.
Yeah, coffee
No,
now,
no, it's actually
caffeine now, talk
fine.
later.
It's actually fine. That was
Yeah.
actually good. So it was printed that way. That was good.
No. It's right. Like when I look at it, it's right way, but I think it's my camera is seeing it backwards.
That's
I don't know
interesting.
how to do. I don't know how to flip the
No,
screen.
no, no. It looks fine here.
Oh,
It actually looks fine. It's not backwards.
okay,
See,
okay.
like this one's backwards. At least it looks backwards,
It's
right?
not though. That's
It's
so
not.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah, that is weird. So I
mm,
wonder I wonder if it's your camera's
it's
flipping
just
it.
our view. Yeah,
Maybe,
it's really
yeah.
strange.
Well, anyways,
Huh.
the many things of the importance of the camera view and what we do. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's good to see you all. We were talking right before this about what were we talking about, Gabby?
We were talking about risk taking and
Yes.
making mistakes with your coach. Like, you know, I always say, I always find it really funny when people are like, "Oh, I don't want to disappoint you," or "I don't want to do a bad job in front of you," and I'm like, what? You
Right.
you pay for coaching to make mistakes. I mean, like
Yes.
Anthony, I know you do a lot with football and your
Hmm.
kiddo and like you do a lot of coaching there. I
Yep.
mean, like imagine if those kids were perfect, like what's the point? Like you'd be like, I'll
Yeah.
just go home. Why am I here?
Oh, absolutely.
You coach
Absolutely.
to get better. You make mistakes specifically so that your coach can go, "Okay, hey, here's what's happening
Hmm.
and here's how we improve on it." If you're
Yes.
Yeah, if you're trying or if you're apprehensive about making a mistake in front of your coach, that's a problem.
Oh, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I totally agree. So yeah, I think there's what we wanted to talk about too today about was the because we'd mentioned about this before in one of our other sessions, but we wanted to go more in detail about maybe also have a conversation about what mistakes are we talking about? Like, what are
Mm,
we actually saying make a mistake, or risk taking? What risks do you take, and how does that help you get better? What is an actual risk? Okay. Real quick, we had some people. By the way, if you are new or not, please feel free to say hello in the chat. Tell us where you're from. We've got Melissa. It's always good to see you, Melissa. So Melissa says your live messages come up on my phone. Great job, guys. Thank you.
nice.
We specifically sought you out, Melissa, and we were able to get your message on your phone. So we're happy for that. And then Jeremy says, "Good morning from Texas. Good to have you." Hey, Junior Dog Rider's back. Good morning from Austin. Good to have you guys. Yep.
Are
Happy
are
Hump
my
Day.
stepkids like responsible for this? What are they doing? They're in Austin. What are they doing? Are they populating this with their buddies?
We've
What's
got
going on?
Austin on lockdown.
Love
That is
Austin.
good stuff.
Such a great town.
So I think to start off, probably we could begin by saying what are some risks that we could start taking in general.
Mhm.
And the best thing to do with these risks is to start with your coach, right? And
Yeah.
taking these risks. But let's talk about what we're talking about when we say risks. Do you want me to start, or you want to? I can take up.
Go
So
ahead.
I think Mike says hi from Cincinnati. Good to have you, Mike. So when I think of risks, I think of pushing myself a little out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
For example, in my acting, like in some narrations. So if
Okay.
there's a line or there's a few lines, and I feel comfortable just kind of saying it how I'm used to saying it, or whatever. Maybe
Mhm.
taking a risk would be, and I'm just the simple terms, maybe saying it with a deeper tone, or saying it faster, or saying it with some pauses, or maybe adding some more drama, whatever that means to
Mhm.
you. And that's where the risk comes in. But more importantly, it's okay to make a mistake, because
Mhm.
maybe what I think is dramatic, Gabby thinks is downright hilarious. I mean, or vice
Right.
versa, right? And that's where I think the risks and mistakes, if we want to call them that, come in, because in the end, we are in a field that is all about being subjective.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? It is how what I think what you're doing sounds to me and how I feel
Yep.
about it, and vice versa. What do you think?
Yeah. I talk a lot with my students about, we all, I think, approach scripts and projects from the emotions and the character components that are comfortable to us, right? The things that are most aligned with who we are.
Mm,
But risk taking is stepping outside of that and it's saying, okay, I'm going to play a character that's uncomfortable for me. I'm going to play an
mm,
emotion that's uncomfortable for me, or, try a personality type that I don't relate very well to.
mm-hmm,
And yeah, it becomes exploratory. And a good coach can help you to get the needed feedback and perception, or understanding of how it's being perceived, to make notes and make changes and ultimately perfect it.
mm-hmm.
Or sometimes scrap it, right? Like that's sometimes how
Well,
we
I was gonna
find.
ask you, like, if I
Yeah.
came to you and I said, from what you just said, and I was like, okay, so, I see what you're saying, but that's like so not me.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I take a risk? What would you say?
Because otherwise you're limiting yourself. You're limiting your opportunities, you're limiting what you can be cast for. Yeah, and who wants that in today's day and age? We can't, there's one thing to have a specific marketing and sales pathway, and there's another thing to limit your ability as a performer with the one thing that makes you money.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would say too, you never know where you might find something out about you, or your coach can identify something that you totally thought would never happen or never could be possible, and
Mhm.
it could end up being one of the best
Yeah.
discoveries in that you found. I mean, you want to, not, just like you said, not limit yourself.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Here's another interesting one, from Melissa question, and it does go right to taking
Oh.
risks. Do you feel it's okay to explore, take a project that is against your political beliefs? I think today this is probably one of the most dynamic questions, at least in if you're a political voice actor in today's day and age,
Mm.
right?
Scary.
I think we all have opinions on it. My personal opinion is I I set out in the beginning of my business to try to be very pragmatic about my business and to not make my business about political,
Right.
like what I feel, right? I tried to
Mhm.
maintain a distance
Mhm.
between those two. So I personally have never personally, it's just I've never
Yeah.
personally had an issue doing one side or another side. I'm okay with it. Now, as I've learned throughout the years, I have found that going to agents and going to even some more intermediary type websites, they typically want you to stick to
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
But I don't personally have an issue doing either. But I found that just, I don't, it's very, as we know, very touchy.
Well, it's divisive.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on it?
So, there's two sides to this, so on one hand, I look at the whatever's considered the morality component, and I'm like, okay, what is okay? That unto itself is a subjective concept, right? It's good or bad, or right or wrong, or
Right.
like what even is that? So is it okay in the sense that are the voiceover police going to come and get you? No. Like, you know,
Mm-mm.
is it okay if you're okay with it,
Yeah.
then yes, it's okay.
Right.
But where it becomes interesting is you have to be careful how you market it.
Right.
That's where it can be difficult because you cannot effectively market for both teams
Mm-hmm.
and think that it's not going to backfire. Because at this point, I mean, there's so much theater and politics in this country. And I mean, let's face it, they might as well be sports teams. It's the same idea. You can't be in support of both, and think that somebody's not going to be upset by it. So publicly, you have to kind of pick a side, and on rosters, you kind of have to pick a side. But what you do in private, I mean, ultimately, it's up to you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think about it as a big soap opera, and then as a soap opera, whether no matter what side you are, there always has to be some sort of villain, And I think
Absolutely.
that's what it's become about.
I
It really
talked
entertainment. I mean, it literally is entertainment.
I talked the other night in my marketing class about how it's like what voice actors can learn from professional wrestlers. Like,
Well,
it's
that's
the
good.
same thing. It's the same thing. Our political
You're
climate is
right.
just a bunch of face characters and heel characters, and that's
Right.
it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a big show.
Mhm.
So I think that it is absolutely okay to, explore or take those projects as you
Yeah.
ask. That's my humble opinion. But just like Gabby said, when you go to promote what you do, it's going to be very challenging to promote it publicly if you are doing both, because some you're inevitably, people just want to leave nasty comments, and they just
Yeah.
want to do stuff. So yeah, so I think so. For me, I will typically have, I've seen some people who have both, or even three. They might have Republican, Democrat, even
Libertarian
independent.
too. Ooh,
You know what I mean?
ooh.
Or but you typically have, you still split it up as
Mhm.
one. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? One side. So
Yeah.
good question. That was a
Yeah.
really good question.
Yeah, and there are whole websites now that are dedicated to just political voiceover. There are
Mhm,
whole rosters that are just about political. Yeah.
mhm.
So it's definitely an avenue to explore, and I mean, it's so funny because people always think it's just a seasonal thing.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
anymore.
No, I mean, I think it's been a big stage thing that has pushed very hard by, I think, the more mainstream
Mhm.
media to keep them relevant,
Yeah.
in my humble opinion, because they were really, it was really going down for them until they found the theater works, or, the soap opera works for them. So with that being said, like what you said, it's very,
Yeah.
there's nonstop. It's nonstop, and every year, every 2 years, every 4 years, there's always gonna be, people running for office
And there's
somewhere.
always local elections, and there's always
Oh yeah.
bills and measures, and yeah, there's always something.
And with social media, with everything the way it is, making videos and doing that stuff is everywhere. So that
Mhm.
does bring a point of, that can be a place where you, if you are so inclined to find a niche area
Mhm.
to really specialize in, is doing some of those, or being that person that they, people go to for
Oh,
a
yeah.
specific type of political ad.
And I've heard from many people in the political world of casting that, everybody in that is very interconnected. So all the campaign managers know each
Hmm.
other and talk to one another. All the marketing agencies know and talk to one another. So your referral uh, probability in that world is phenomenal. And
Hmm.
that's how a lot of people do end up with multiple campaigns or becoming the voice of something really major is because they're just consistently referred throughout the ranks.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
What are some other risks that, or some other making a mistake? We kind of put it to Melissa. Interesting. Yes, thought provoking. What are some other mistakes, risks that we can take? And it was interesting because Melissa, you bringing up that idea of being just not just with your coach, but just
Mhm.
risks in general with our business, I guess, if you will.
I mean, everything from, its age range and style and sound and, there's something to be said for, like, other industries are obsessed with A/B testing, right? Like,
Hmm.
obsessed with, because it's so important to get a sense of what message works and what doesn't. Why aren't more voice actors taking advantage of that?
Hmm.
Right? We can easily A/B test. Well, I'll take that back. In theory, we can easily A/B test,
Right.
but you could have an A and a B demo. You could have an A and a B web presentation. You could have different ways of presenting yourself and seeing what's more
Yeah.
effective.
I really like that. I got a question for you. What do you do that would? It's just, I don't know why, because we're talking about different things.
Mm.
What voice or voiceover that you have, maybe a repeat client or something comes back to you, that no one would think you would do, or that you think is totally outside of what the Gabby brand is, like in voiceover? Do you have one that you do that's just something silly?
Uh, Yeah, so I like a very mild Louisianan Cajun accent. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like a very because a lot of times when people think of Louisiana, I've spent a lot of time in New Orleans. And, when people often think about the Cajun accent or the Creole accent,
Uh-huh.
they overdo it. They
Right.
really kind of overwhelm it. And so, yeah, I have a client who comes back to me time and time again to do this, like, very mild Louisianan Creole type. It's a coffee house, ironically. We were talking about them the other day.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of fun 'cause, what I have found interesting over the years is that the Cajun accent and the New York accent actually overlap a little bit, and so that's how I was
Mm.
able to kind of
Really?
create
That's
that.
interesting.
But yeah, but it is definitely outside of my norm for sure.
That's great.
Mhm.
I love it. Um, I would have to say for myself, I do this. I'm trying to think of all the. I have repeat clients that come to me for young children's games where I narrate the very like it's a
Aw.
very high pitched, like a little teddy bear or a
Oh
little
my god. It's 'cause you're a cinnamon roll.
it must be.
You're
It must
such
be,
a
but I do
cinnamon
so,
roll.
like, it was always people come in and like, "Hey, we want XYZ." I had narrated a couple of also, like, young children online education things where there's, like, a character that goes through and educates, so I d and I always think when I do this stuff, it's just like, whatever it's probably one of those things you that thing that goes through your mind, I get paid to do this, and then the the other thing is that it's just kind of, always funny saying, "Wow, you can do this." Like I could do these voices. But anyways, it's just I wanted to ask you for so whatever reason it came into my
Ah,
mind to like what are
no,
some crazy things that like voices that you do?
but
Um
that's it. I mean, there's
yeah.
always something, and I mean, like, I'm always amazed by my students. Like, I have a student right now who shocked the hell out of me with one of the best German accents I've ever heard. And I was like, where did this come from? And he's like, I took 5 years of German. And I was like, what? And the accent is amazing, which
Oh
I
yeah.
think, you would never know if you didn't explore those things and risk,
And I think that's exactly what we're talking about full circle with taking risks and making mistakes
Yeah.
with your coach, because it is a safe environment with someone who's there to help you through it and to explore. And if we don't ever explore, just like we've said in the beginning, you're not going to know the possibilities and how far you can push this whole
Mhm.
thing. And I always think it's interesting when I hear from people that some people speak multiple languages, some people have, they do these accents or they go around the house and does all these funny voices. But when it
Mhm.
comes to stepping in or sitting in front of the mic or whatever, it's almost sometimes, and again, I always call it the mild crab between my mouth and the
Yeah.
microphone. Like there's just this, something hanging over it to us where I've got to be just straight and narrow. And I always say, remember, people are paying us to do things that they feel like they can't do.
Yeah, exactly.
So take advantage of that and do them.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
For sure, and it's scary, it's scary, I
Mhm,
know it's scary. Look,
mhm.
I'm still I do improv every so many years, I force myself. I have a great improv, coach that I love here in town, but, I mean, it's terrifying, I hate it, I hate it.
Really?
I
You
hate it,
hate
I hate it.
improvisation?
Yeah, I have such stage fright, so I
Wow.
hate the off the cuff, but I love it, but I hate it. You know? And I'm
Interesting.
one of those weird people that, like, my learning process from improv is because I lay awake at night going just ruminating, going, "Why didn't I say this? Why didn't I do it this way? How come I didn't
Oh
do that?
no.
I
Oh,
could
I
have done
got
this.
you. Okay.
I would that would have been so much funnier if I had just said," you know? But 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 it's a helpful skill
Yes.
because, I mean,
Yes.
if I can put myself in front of and, this particular group that I go to, they put on a show.
Mm.
And so at the end of your 6 weeks, you're doing a show in front of, like, family and friends, and I mean, usually anywhere from 50 to 100 people, and I'm like, "If I can do that
Oh, wow.
and survive, and not have a total meltdown, then it makes the booth so much easier."
Oh, it does. And
Yeah.
improvisation, that's actually, you know what? I think what we'll do, because it's time for us to go for today,
Mm.
I think we could maybe talk about the importance of improvisation tomorrow.
Ooh, tomorrow,
Because I
sure.
think that, this so vital, not just to you improving as the normal part, but improving everything, improving emotion, improving when you're working on a script. There could be something that comes out, and you following that instinct, that improvisation instinct could be very helpful.
Yeah, I love me some non-lexicals. I'm like, "Get
Hmm.
those noises in there, kiddies." Yeah,
Absolutely. Well,
let's
hey,
do it.
everybody, thank you so much for watching today. You were amazing. You guys
Yeah.
have a wonderful Wednesday. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Goodbye.